that one and boom. Greetings, greetings, greetings. The glasses, them still look dirty. We're live. We're here again. So, today we're talking about victims and perpetrators of abuse. Not necessarily domestic abuse, but that can be one of them. So, firstly, probably the main one of the main reasons why I decided to come forward with this subject today. There's a popular, well, very popular Caribbean comedian. I'll give his name, doesn't matter because everything is public about him now, by the name of Major Hype. So Major Hype had a fiance, as he called her, and they've been together for some time. And she had now publicized some of their relationship, where there's been some sort of, from the pictures that she put publicly, some serious domestic violence. Alexis, turn that down a little bit. These guys have turned some louder than the others, haven't they? So yeah. So now his lady said, that he had beaten her and was abusive in the relationship in terms of, I would say, from what she was saying, emotionally, um, emotionally abusive. Um, and then obviously lots of people then were talking at him and, calling him names, blah, blah, blah. So he decided that he had to defend himself, which is okay, in a way. So his defense was that he said, you people are accusing me. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I experienced. You don't know what I experienced as a youth, as a child, etc., etc. In other words, as if he's now saying that although she's the victim, because he at no point did he actually deny what she was saying, and he had also released video of them having sex. Now that's all on him, and he put that on the internet. Don't ask me where because I've not gone to look, and I'm not really interested. That's your business. If you want to go and look, maybe it's there, or maybe it's been taken down. But now the point is that I want to talk about the subject, especially for our community of people, we Caribbeans and Africans and so forth, because lots of people are in denial about what goes on. And I'm not just talking about domestic violence per se. It's a wider, the whole issue of abuse. There's psychological abuse, emotional abuse, as well as obviously even, the so-called beatings of children, that parents take it too far. That's physical abuse and some of the other things that they do. So I just want to push that out there and have a look at, why is it that people like Major Hype will jump up and say, even if I did something and, it can be classified as abusive, I am the victim. And he's not accepting responsibility for anything that he's done, but he's also now blaming his past and what has happened to him in the past. And that's not to say that we don't believe that any of those things could have happened to him, because yes, they can, and those things do happen. But does that give him the right to continue being abused? Is that a good excuse or reasoning? And I would personally present maybe two cases as to what I think is the answer. why people are like that. One of them is probably something that people already think about, and the other one, if you're not a Christian, you probably wouldn't see it that way. But that will be my sort of take on it. And these guys will be free to say what they want. So I'm going to have a sip of my drink and allow them to talk. Thank you very much. Yeah, difficult subject, isn't it?
Wow.
In a way.
It is a difficult subject because, I mean, he's not the only person that has actually said, you know, that statement of, oh, you don't know what happened to me before and why I'm like this. And, you know, a lot of people try to use
You
that
have
as
to
an
talk a bit louder.
yeah, a lot of people try to use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, I'm not saying that, you know, what happened to them is not going to be affecting them, because of course it's going to affect someone, it's going to change somebody. But I think they should, when they become an adult, they should try to understand what happened to them.
I think your experiences are a part of you, but
Yeah.
they shouldn't define who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Or what you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or what you do. You should think about your choices. You shouldn't let what happened to you, or, you know, how whatever happened to you made you change. You should be then trying to correct those bad things that it's left. Whatever bad mark it's left, you should be trying to work to remove it. You shouldn't be just wallowing in it
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And keeping it as an excuse for
Yeah,
doing foolishness.
yeah, no. I just I agree with you. I don't think it should be made as an excuse. I don't think it's a good enough excuse, in my opinion. But obviously, it's not always as simple as that, is it, for some people? Because, well, I guess I'm coming from a Christian point now.
I was going to say that now.
Because obviously, as we already know, you know, sometimes there's some, there's some things on the bloodline, or something to do with, you know, demonic sexual abuse, ritual abuse, all these kind of things. Those ones are a lot deeper.
Yeah.
And I think them ones really do affect a person deeply. So then it becomes a lot harder for them to break free from it, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't really know about the major hype guy.
No. But he's just an example.
Yeah, he's just
But
an
the thing is
example.
that even if you use the example of what you've just said, you know, maybe something that, as you put it, on the bloodline. Well, don't you have a responsibility to fight that then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because I suppose, in my view anyway, there's two ways that everything can go. If you take life and you look at something negative, you know, there's some people, I've heard stories, even from like my own like family. My mum I said, you know, when they were kids, they were like practically literally tied to a tree
Yeah.
to be given a beating, all these type of things, or they were tied up, pushed underneath their mum's frock, obviously with their behind stuck out, and then they get a beating and they can't move.
Yeah.
You know, now I mean, she was telling me these stories, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, interesting, because you know what's happened.
He's saying live video interrupted. I think it's back on now. They're frying it in.
Yeah.
They don't like what we're talking already, you know. We ain't even really got into
We haven't even got anywhere.
No.
So she said, you know, she was telling me those stories, and I said, "Well, Mum," I said, "you must be joking." She said, "No, you don't know you what it was like," and you know, I said, "No," I said, "I would be biting them everywhere." But it's not going to work for me. I would fight.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously character is the thing, but I suppose then for some parents, this would be the reasoning why then, according to them, when they raise their own children, they beat them up.
Yeah.
And I'm using the term beat them up deliberately, because I have two daughters sitting here, and I wasn't an absent father. I've been around. and they can tell you whether I believe in giving them any licks or not. So, but there's a difference between giving them licks and beating them up.
Yeah.
So they can tell you whether I did beat them up or not. I have at least one stepdaughter who was, I don't know if she's still online, and she also can say if she wants, she can write there. You know, she can write and comment if I did beat her up or not. But I did give her some licks for real. Yes, I did. So she can say she's there anyway. So if she, you know, because I don't believe that I did beat up anybody. But I think I was also aware of that in a way there is a fine line between whether you understand what you would call your style of discipline, and that's also whether or not you may find is it necessary to use any kind of physical whatever as discipline, and it isn't always. But there's, you know, what's the line between that and now what becomes abuse? And okay, we're only talking about physical chastisement at the moment. There's a lot more, you know, in this than that.
Yeah.
But the reason why we started with that one is because it's usually what people use as the reasoning behind why they say, oh, well, so and so family or so and so type of people. And they try to classify it by different classes of people in their mindset. They are like this because they have become acclimatized to physical abuse in their family. So now they become violent, you know, and they want to fight and they want to beat up their children and beat up other people. There's an element of truth in that, but I believe it's a very small element, because I believe that it's much more than just what they saw or even than what they experienced. Because you, again, this is why I said you can make the choice to go the opposite way. You could have been beaten by your parents, tied up, tied to a tree, tied to a table, and I've heard all these kind of stories. I have not done that to any of my children, unless, well, I don't remember that I did. If I did, please tell me. I don't remember tying anybody to a table or a tree or a post or anything. But you know, these are the type of things that and now, would you say that if you tie your child, your own physical child, born, made from your body, whatsoever the case may be, you tie them to a table to give them what you call, you know, physical punishment, which I call it a beating. Is that abuse or not? Because I think it is.
I think it's abuse because of
Because you
tying
tied
them
them.
up.
Because you tied them up, they can't run.
Exactly.
And if they run and they get away, well, they got away.
They got away. That's
You know,
it.
my dad, I can remember my dad chasing me, you know, and this was on the street in front of all my friends because I was supposed to be home at a certain time, you know, the usual. So I've not come home because, you know, you're just too busy enjoying yourself and you're watching and thinking, oh, yeah, it's getting dark, but I can wait a bit. then I'm seeing him come marching on the road now. You know, and when I say marching, I mean literally marching, right? And the belt is in his hand, so you already know what's coming because now he had to chase me, and I wasn't letting him catch me for two reasons. One, because I'm styling it in front of my friends, and you know, and two, because obviously I don't want the licks, and I'm not. You know. Evening, Roy. So my dad is chasing me down the road with the belt, right? Now, to my friends, at least all the white ones, that is abuse. I had an Italian friend and he just sat down laughing.
Of course.
And obviously, without me even giving you too much detail, you know why. Because it's the same thing. I had Italian and Spanish friends. I've gone to their house. One time, Italian friends. Oh yeah, what do you mean? And the dad was cheesed off with everybody, and he's telling everybody shut up, and they're not listening. And that guy used to wear platform shoes. This is, you know, back in the day when platform shoes were in style, and my man was short as well. Anyway,
so
so
of course he's wearing
you know,
the platform.
so the dad took off his shoes and flung one at the daughter, and then he flung the next one at me. And I'm like, well, you know,
Not even your child.
I'm not even his child, but he's like, I'm her friend and I'm in the yard and he's telling her off and I'm standing there. So I'm getting a shoe as well. You know, and we had to run out the door because then he's coming to collect the shoes
To
throw
and
them
to
again.
throw them again.
Yeah.
You see, now, I mean, we're laughing about it. And I mean, if I even could see this lady today at 50 odd years old and remind her, I'm sure she would laugh as well. And even then we were laughing. But now some people say, oh, that's abuse.
Yeah, that's terrible.
But actually,
Mm.
I don't know. For you, if you think it's abuse, then don't do it.
Yeah.
We didn't think it was abuse, and I personally still don't think it's abuse.
Well,
If there's anybody listening or watching that thinks it is, please say. And please tell us why you think so and how.
yeah.
I'm not saying that I am 100% more right than anybody else, but I didn't see that as abuse, personally. And like I said, I'm only starting with, you know, physical punishment just because we're going to go wider and deeper than that. But my point is that I didn't really see that. But then let me then give you an example of what I did see. Even as a child, I personally understood this as abuse, you know, from my opinion. Are we all right with this, or is it doing the same thing?
I think it's back on now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's back on now.
As a child, something that I would have classified, even from childhood, I saw it and I thought this is abuse because of the way how I saw it. And it wasn't physical thing. There was a boy, younger than us by that time, little kid, his name was Philip. His parents ran a pub at the top of the street. And that little boy, Philip, used to be up and down, in and out of the pub. The parents didn't stop him from going in and out. So adults would be in there doing what adults do, drinking and chatting rubbish and swearing at each other and, you know, all of that. And Philip will just be in and out as he pleased, just looking, watching people coming in and going in and out. And I've never heard a small person who could swear like him.
See?
I mean, it wasn't like Jamaican or Caribbean style swearing, but Englishman style swearing. But he knew every word that you could think of and some others that he fixed into his own version. And he would cuss you out from top to bottom. And it didn't matter what size you were or whatever you said to him, he would cuss you until you wanted to run him down and beat him up. And you know, and I've never seen anything like it. You know, and he was always there, grubby looking and just ragamuffin, scrag out. You know, because basically the parents were just like, yeah, he's alive, but we can't be bothered.
Yeah.
You know, and we're busy with our business and whatever. That to me, and I even saw it and categorized it as a youngster as abuse.
Yeah.
Now, as it happened, as he grew up and was growing older, and this is why I say that I put this here, because this would be an excuse now. He was actually quite a horrible guy. You know, very aggressive and violent and so forth. Now, like I say, some people or many people will say, well, yeah, of course, because he grew up in the environment, he grew up there living in a pub, you know, and obviously seeing all of that. But was it because it was a pub? Or was it because of the way in which he, you know, the type of style of pub that it was, the atmosphere, and the way in which he absorbed that?
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit of a question rhetorically, but also because I do know, I can also think of another person who grew up in a pub atmosphere, but a totally different type of pub, one which we would maybe classify as a posh, you know, and they didn't have any of that behavior. You know, where people are having, you know, nice pub dinners in the garden and all that. I didn't have any, but this place where this young guy was that I'm talking about was what I call scraggy, you know. So my question then, question, comment, both, was it the overall environment? Was it his actual family unit that caused him to be like that? Is it a mix of all of that, or is it just him? It's just him. You know, is it just him? And why I say that is because if we take our plight as people of color, and remember, some of you, you know, I refuse to be called black. So you might be black people, but I'm not. So me as a man of color, some of you still call yourselves black. We as people of color, we have had a plight, whether we liked it or not, whether we chose, for that to be our plight. We've some of us born here, some not. You've come, they're all maybe mostly telling you it's not your country, etc., etc. Even I don't know how much of that now goes on in speech so much. Maybe I think about my grandchild here. She may not hear the things that I heard. We were told all the time, and I'm sure somebody like Roy, who's my age group, he will know, he will agree, that we were told all the things: get back on the banana boat, gollywog, get back on your jam jar, you name it. We heard it on blackjack, everything, right? Pure abuse on a regular. Oh yeah, that's what I used to tell them. Buy me some, buy me some because I like them. You're a gollywog, and black and white sambo and all this, and they used to just be, it was relentless with some people, including not just small kids, and that is abuse.
Yeah.
But it didn't actually it didn't actually turn me around to then turn around and say, right, as a result of that, I'm gonna now bash up every white, pink, whatever you want to call them. Every person who doesn't have a coloration like me, I'm gonna brought them up. It didn't do that. What's Roy saying?
I thank my mum for every lash she gave me. As it happened, I beat my son a few times, probably 3 or 4 times. Not my daughters though. However, I do believe it is wrong that the level of beating was a form of abuse. Maybe correct for the time.
Okay. All right. Let's address that. I don't really want to say too much, but I think I should, if you don't mind, Angelica, because it's about your child. I have a granddaughter here. Come, let them see you. Come, hurry up. Let them see your face. Get in here. Right. I have a granddaughter here.
Hi.
Right. This one who is rude.
Oh, boy.
She's rank. Yeah, for those of you who know what rank is. Right? She's feisty and out of order. Am I lying? Ah. Now, we love her, but everything that we're saying is also true. So now we are in 2020, right? So I'm just trying to sort of answer with Roy a bit, because obviously I hear what he's saying and I know where he's coming from, and I would say he and we're from the same era directly, and we will have gone through the same kind of beating, even. You understand?
Yeah.
Now, her mother is here, the one on the end, and this is her auntie.
Yeah.
And both of them are my daughters. And they went through a similar kind of, well, I won't use the word beating, but you call it that if you like.
Yeah.
But now, funny enough, to be truthful, between the two of them, there's a difference. And why is there a difference? When Angelica was born, I was 18. You see, he's jealous, isn't he?
Jealous.
When Angelica was born, I was 18.
Yeah.
When Tamar was born, I was not 18. So that's part of it. Part of it. Character-wise, I suppose, yeah, they were a bit different, but not drastically. But then, like I said, there are others. Simone can be there somewhere, so Simone can tell you her story. But now my point, 2020, we've all now said, okay, because some of that we're trying to see if that's a bad or a good way of how children are raised. So now this way she can say no, but that's the thing, because now most of what we got, they got, maybe more, slightly less, me plenty more. There's like literally none.
Yeah.
But now, when you look at the level of manners, and this is what I got to say, this is the honest truth before God. When you look at the level of, and I'm not necessarily saying it about them, but let's use them as an age group. The level of manners and discipline, right? High, pretty high, strange, non-existent. Yes, people of your age group, the manners and discipline is strange. It's the best way I can put it. Because they want to be respected, but they don't, they don't like to respect anybody.
Exactly. It's only there if they feel.
That's what I'm saying. People in Angelica's age range, they know what's what. Sometimes it might slide, but generally they know. Mine, we don't have an issue. We respect because, well, we learned it the hard way. And which is why we are horrified when we don't get back the respect that we expect. But now, these ones, she is better than many.
Yeah.
But 99% of these lot.
I'm always laughing at your category.
Well, but I think it helped. Come on, Roy. I think it helped. But seriously, now for her, and until now, some of the things that she does, she's doing them because she knows,
nothing ain't gonna happen.
What are you gonna do? No, I know you can shake your head, but it's true. Because if you lived in my day, in my shoes, you would not even try it, because you would have thought you're going to even be dead.
Yeah. You wouldn't even
see,
because you already know what would be happening.
Now my question, which it's in a way you might say, well, what does that have to do with the title? But it does, because we're coming from a wide perspective to narrow it right down.
Yeah.
When my parents were so tough and and straightened us so straight, do you think, now this is a serious question, do you think it was also because of what the environment was giving to them around them?
Definitely.
You understand? So that they were looking and saying, we need to make sure that this black boy will grow up to be a strong black man who can handle himself and handle what society is giving him and all of that. I wonder. You see? And now maybe we've now come to the namby-pamby, wishy-washy generation where they're offended by when somebody says no.
Yeah.
You
have
see?
to agree with them or they're offended.
And now this is the thing, because that to us was not an offense, and we suffered some serious offense. There were some very offensive things, in society, TV, school, everywhere at that time. And there, there's some other people on who are from my era, or they were, who would understand and would agree with me. In our day, my day, people who are in their 50s now, you know what I mean? We suffered some proper rubbish that somebody like this one here, if they're having a lot of hassle in school, they're the ones who put it there because of their own behaviors and attitudes. As bad as some teachers are and stuff like that, because the reason why I'm saying that, because when we look at the title of what we said, the abuse, as what did the abused do after the abuse? This is my question, that do you think and anybody can answer this, even those who are listening. Now, maybe our parents were so strict, at least the Jamaican one, the Caribbean one, and you get some licks, you get some serious straightening up. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, you weren't allowed to eat. Was it because also of the abuse that they had already suffered and they were trying to either toughen us up to or stop us from getting into? Or was it because that had left them with a negative attitude and mindset towards it? Yeah, we keep on freezing here. I don't know why.
It seems all right now. I don't know why it freezes and then comes back.
Yeah,
on.
mine has.
Yeah.
So I don't know if folks are hearing us because it keeps it's frozen.
Yeah. So it must just be on our side. Maybe I don't know, signal.
Anyway,
something,
there's not much we can. It seems to be. It seems okay.
He's not impressed.
Because everybody's over here.
That's why he's slinked himself
Yeah,
closer.
he's slowly edging up.
So now, my question then. This is just about this because then we're going to go on to some of the other things.
Yeah.
But now about the licks, which Royce, like what Roy said, but she doesn't really get any, and there's nothing that you tell her that she listens to first time.
No.
Eventually, maybe, but then so. And okay, we're going to also get something. Well, you shouldn't ever touch children in any way. They shouldn't. Well, I want to ask a few things then, and then let's, again, there's no right or wrong answer. But like, for instance, for the people of color, and by that now, because now I'm giving it that wider definition, that means Caribbeans, African, Spanish, Italian, yeah, because they're all the same when it comes to Portuguese, Latino, Latina, them kind of people, right? Brazilians, Argentine, because all of them are blocking up their children.
Yeah.
Are they all abusive then?
Yeah.
And because you see, you've got social commentators that tell you, oh, that is the result of slavery.
Yes, this is always.
And we're not talking about people who are beating up children. We'll talk about that separately in a minute. We're talking about parents who have chosen to give their children some kind of physical chastisement.
Yeah.
Is that all abusive then?
No, I don't think so.
Well, then say more. What? No, I don't think so. Go on, continue.
I don't think it's abuse.
Alexis is here with her eyes to say, I don't know what she thinks. We're going to hear her opinion in a minute as well, because she thinks there should be none ever.
Yeah, of course.
Well,
but she's young.
and she ain't even getting none.
So don't worry, we will hear your opinion in a minute.
Well, I don't think it's abuse.
And imagine she's skinny and she's still breaking out my leg.
She's got half of her leaning on me. With her little skinny self. But yeah, I don't think it's abuse simply because I've said this many times. I've said it to people now. I've said this that of course, not every child needs to be given licks, but there are some that really do. Yeah. And when you come across one of them children that really needs licks and they're not getting them, you can tell. Yeah. Trust me, because they're the ones that are in the supermarket on the floor screaming, pulling all the stuff off of the rails and doing all these things, having tantrums, running away from their moms, running across roads, doing all these things. They're the type of children that they don't listen when you're telling them something. They need to feel something to get the message. I feel personally. I think it's true though, because some now it is look at or you have to start. I still feel that, what's it called? Super nanny. Even though she doesn't beat them, she makes them stay in one position for a certain amount of time. I still feel that is a lesser physical
But does she? How does she? I've not watched it in a while.
Because she literally makes.
Does
them,
she actually physically put
She
them?
puts
Yeah,
them
she
up.
puts
She
them, yeah.
picks them up and boom.
And if they move, does she physically put them up? Yeah.
Every single time.
So it's like a
even-
physical restraint.
Yeah, a physical restraint basically.
Which that's part of my point, which is kind of like a follow on.
I do think them ways are long, isn't it?
Well, but
Yeah, because of course that one's a longer,
Because after
a
two
longer
lash, then there's no putting
routine.
back on the step in it.
but you see,
Yeah,
if you lose your child
Mm,
to social services or something like that, let's start at that level then.
yeah.
When those people and they say, oh, we've taken away this child, and I've worked, so I'm not telling people fables. I've worked in those settings. I've worked one-on-one with boys who've been removed from their families because of various issues, including what they classify as physical abuse or other. I've worked also with boys and girls in a bigger house setting with other staff, but I've done the one-on-one housing situation with boys who have been removed because their behaviour has become worse, become so disruptive that they can't live with anybody.
Yeah.
So they live. Imagine that you're talking teenage lads who are living alone in a house that's paid for by social services, and there's one male member of staff that lives in there, ostensibly acting as a father figure, semi-policeman or whatever you want to call it, and this rowdy youth, and some of them are huge, who has no manners, no discipline, no behavior, no nothing. And they won't go to school. They don't, even when they're given a private tutor, which is again paid for. Some of them don't want to study, and they're taken into that setting, right? Saying that, we had to take them away from the parents because the parents, it wasn't work. And now, before I even say anything, tell me, do you think that in that setting it works?
No. No.
I'm a strict guy, but I'm a nice guy. And especially when I analyze these young people by that time and think, boy, he's really suffered a lot. Obviously you'll read their records of whatever's written there. You'll analyze the person in front of you. No matter how nice you are to some of those young men, they are very, 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 very horrible and nasty.
Yeah.
And when it gets to a point where they cannot be told and will not be told, and this is whether it's in a house on their own or in a group setting, you are within your rights to use physical means.
You see what I mean?
Right? Now, that doesn't mean that you'll then take your fist and punch them up in their face. No. But if you need them to move somewhere and they're telling you F off, F you, as they do, I will restrain them physically, and I will remove them from one seat to another, one room to another, etc., etc., whether they like it, whether they agree with it or not. I can give you one example. There was a boy who threw, thank God it wasn't absolutely boiling hot, but he threw semi-hot soup on another member of staff and then ran off. So we ran him down and pinned him down.
Of course.
Now, again, because if people are thinking that, they're in children's homes and they're not touched, and they love you and you love them, it doesn't work like that. No matter how nice we were to them in that environment, they'll be looking at you and telling you straight in your face, I hate you.
Yeah.
F you,
You're
F you, F you. Because you see now, it has come to the point where, and the easy answer would be, it's because they've been abused in the past and the family. And do you know, in a lot of cases, there's no such thing. Believe me, I've worked in the environment. In a lot of cases, that wasn't what it was. It was a lack of discipline.
Yeah, because that's what you find.
That's right. They thought, I can do what I want, tell you what I want, and what can you do? We had one lad, boy, I think he was 14 at the time. So because it is,
The most
it's a
hand
terrible
age, isn't it?
for boys. It is a disgusting age.
Yeah.
He thought he's the king of the world. He can't be told anything,
Of course,
you know.
as usual.
And he was doing absolutely everything that he could in that house. First off, there's a girl in there who was 13. They're sleeping with each other in the middle of in the night. We tell it to the social worker. Do you have any proof? So that's why I'm telling you that you got to look at the overall system, because if people are on here, whether you're on here now or later, and you think, oh no, the system will deal with you, and then if you're the one who's being abusive to your child or whatever, whether it's physical or otherwise, the system will take the child away and look after them. Sometimes that's where the abuse is worse.
Yeah.
That's what you got to understand.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's where it's worse.
Go and look at accounts. There's
Mm.
many
You know?
people that will tell you that they got taken away from their parents because, you know, maybe their parents gave them licks or whatever, and people found out, so then they've told
Reported them
Yeah.
or something.
and then they've been taken away. And what's happened? They've gone somewhere and they've been abused.
Oh.
Yeah, and this is supposed to be when they're in child care protective system and all this, and they're getting abused. They go to a next place, abuse, next place, abuse.
Mm.
For the whole
That's
time
right.
they're in care.
And don't fool yourself about what does and doesn't happen.
Mm.
This let me continue with the story of this young lad. So he's doing all these different things. So every other day he just gets up and he's gone, going out. I'm going out. You can't do nothing. You can't touch me. Rare, rare, rare. And we were told, oh well, if he goes out, leave him. Don't try to restrain him or anything. Just let him go. And again, you see, in your own household, in your family, if you tell your son
Never.
you're not allowed to go out, and we're talking Dave, that he was from London, and this home where he's living is in Norfolk. You know, what does he know around there?
Yeah,
And
you
it
ain't
was
got
on a
nowhere
farm.
to go.
Where is he even going? And he's not, and he hasn't got a car. And what does he know in that Norfolk area? But he's going out and he'll come back when he feels like, right? So now when he's gone long enough, over a certain period of time, we have to call the police. And as usual, because he was black, as you guys want many term it, they found him quite easily because it was a white man's area, and then bring him back. Boom. So now he decided now he can drive. I'm like, really?
Oh my goodness.
So I had warned them, don't leave the car keys in the office, you know, where they can be seen. So he's been going outside and looking through the window, and he's worked out where staff keep dropping the car keys.
Where it's not secure.
So he's climbed in through the window and locked the office door so that nobody could get into him. Then he's taken the car keys, climbed back out of the window, and jumped in the car with his girlfriend. But now, of course, because he can't really drive, he's driven it around the yard and then drove it into the conservatory. Right? And this is what I'm saying. And this is all in, you know, social services care. So he's kicking off and carrying on with himself. Mine is stopped again.
Yeah, so did mine, but I think it's okay because nobody's no one said anything.
So he's in social services care, and he's done this now. This youngster now has ran off, right? So now when we got him back, he starts kicking off and carrying on. So we said to him, and I tried to educate him. You know, I said, listen, look at the color of your skin. Said your skin color is the same as mine. If you don't behave yourself and they have to call police on you and you carry on with the police the way you're carrying on with me, it's going to be a problem. No, blah, 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 blah. He's not listening. So he spits in the face of a member of staff, and they said, right, that's it. And then he's trying to fight them. So they've called the police. And again, because I care about my youth, I've told the youth, the police are going to deal with you different. He's not listening.
Of course.
So when the police have turned up, he's telling them every F-bomb that he can. and they're telling him, we don't care how old you are, but we've told you you're coming out this house and you're going to the station. No, I'm effing not. You can't effing touch me. I'm a blah blah blah. He said, look, if you say that one more time, right, then you will see what we'll do. And I told him, I said, just come, no, and he spat in the policeman's face. So now
Just firing
that 14-year-old young black boy, he saw what rural policemen can behave like. I don't even want to give you the details of the story. Fill in the blanks for yourself, right? And to be fair, when they arrested him at the house, they treated him fairly nicely because we were there seeing.
Yeah.
When they took him now, and he was at the station because he's the one who told me, right? And they've took him in the cell before because they wouldn't question him or anything without an appropriate adult because of his age. They can't. But in the interim time, when they're putting him into the cell, taking him into custody, they basically, let me put it in my vernacular, they manners him, right? Those of you who know, you know what I'm saying. They put him under manners. So now when our staff have gone, so he was crying like a baby. I said, why? When he's come out from there and he's explained, the policeman who he spat in his face, that policeman made sure he remembered.
Yeah, of course.
You see? Now, my reason for telling that kind of what seemed like a long story is because then what I'm trying to say, as he now grows up from 14 and now becomes like maybe 18, 19, who's responsible for his attitude towards the police?
Himself.
And his mindset about police?
Himself.
And really, what will it be? Because he would have not had any positive experience with them.
No, it would have made his mindset negative.
But yeah, I've heard the same boy on the phone to his mum cussing her out like she's his sister, like she's a dog. And then the mother is there, oh, I can't cope with him. This, and some of it now, the parents need to fix up themselves.
But then you wonder, is that because, maybe their parents?
Well, this is what we want to talk about. And what's the answer? Because if they're going to say, well, I'm not going to smack my child or rough them up in any way because my parents did too much of that to me, fine. But do you not know that basically if you don't do something, police will do some of it for you?
Yeah.
And they'll do it in worse than what you think.
Yeah.
And then later, when it goes beyond police, prison will do it too.
Yeah.
And mental hospitals.
Yeah.
Because now people are questioning, asking, oh, why so many young men are going into, being locked up in prison and they're getting locked up in mental hospitals? And is it because of taking too much, they're smoking too much weed? It's because they don't have no manners and they had no discipline. That's my answer. Argue with me if you wish. That's why I'm on here today. You see, because I'm twisting up people's heads on purpose about this whole thing about the abused and the abuser and the results of it. Because I think it's a lot deeper than what people think. That people make an excuse. But at the same time as whether you make an excuse, that then says then don't have any, because we started and we've talked for a while on the one thing, the physical chastisement, but they say that's abuse. So then what's the answer? What's the answer? If you're a single mother and you're raising your son, and I know there's at least one who's on here, if she's still on here, chat to me if you wish to, Miss Kim. If you don't rise up some discipline underneath that youth man, how will you manage with him?
That's the whole.
And who will manage him instead?
The authorities, as they call themselves, or the system, because it's inevitable. That's what happens every single time.
And then also, the other question, society in general may tell you your level or your style or your form of discipline is abusive. And now I'm speaking particularly and especially to people of color. But are they not already abusing you? Mm. So if they're already abusing you because of your color and you don't show your young man how he must straighten up himself to deal with that abuse, what happens?
It's not cut and dry. Discipline is a must. How it's
Metered.
meted is another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you see, I agree, Roy. But you see, that's what I'm saying, and more so maybe with the male than the female, because obviously, you know, that's just the dynamics of the nature. But you've got so many of these young guys that have not even 1 inch of manners, and all of them expect respect, but they don't have any. And when you check it out, in a lot of cases, mama is spoiling them. Can't see what it is. Close this door here. Mama is spoiling them, and there's no dad saying anything. So then, what do you say about that?
Yeah.
Back to that enabling mothers thing, isn't it? Nurture nature.
Yeah. I think it's I mean I don't even know because I mean because you know I know that a lot of people obviously, as we already know, that are of the lighter skin tones don't agree with any type of physical.
Jeff. All right, let me come. Just keep talking.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
come.
Yeah, as I was saying, we know. Not no. As we know, the lighter skinned people, sorry. Oh, for goodness sake. That's shush. Go sit back over there and stop being rude. Tired of this dog. What's this say? Oh, she's tagging people. I don't know why he's getting rank now that dad's not in it. 5 seconds. Move! Go over there, man. You're messing up the life.
Messing up the program.
Yeah.
What are you saying? The non-melanated people.
Yeah, the non-melanated people, they obviously more time. They're the ones that are actually, that are like, oh no, you know, it's wrong, it's abuse, etc., etc., etc. But see, I'm even losing my point now. I'm even losing my point because of this stuff. Look at him. Stop!
One of us is gonna have to get out.
Yeah. Because you don't want to listen. Get back over there. Sit down now. Sit down and lay down. I ain't got time for you to rubbish. Just sit down and stop being rude. There you go. Stay there. Yeah, and do not move.
What is this? Technical difficulties, people.
What?
What is he doing?
Stop the rubbish.
Alexis, put it there
Yeah. No.
in front.
Stop
Just
it.
in front of him. Just kidding.
Yeah, like a
That's them.
Yeah.
So
Stay there.
movement too much.
I think the point has been lost now, isn't it?
Well, I'm gonna think.
What was I saying? Yeah. Basically, obviously, like I was saying,
They don't agree with the physical chastisement.
yeah, and they don't agree with the physical chastisement. But what you find is that a lot of their people or a lot of their youngsters, they're the worst ones. or they're the most rude. Or you go out into the world and they have less courtesy and
etiquette,
general respect for people. And I'm not saying that's everyone, of course. I'm just saying
just notice it
it's
more
a no.
from-
Yeah, you notice it more from those style of people. Move and get back over there, you little crust. Because you're just messing.
Get back over there.
I don't know what's wrong with him.
Because he wants
Go
attention.
now. No, because he wants to be annoying because he don't know what's going on through
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because we closed off the door.
Yeah,
So
'cause-
he can't see out there. That's what that is. All it is.
Yeah.
Lay down. Lay down.
Anyway, yeah, so I'm saying. So they often have what's the word? Yeah, it's often that you find, you know, they don't want any. Oh no, it's not right.
But then if you
to
they
beat your
disagree with
child
the physical
and stuff.
chastisement, but I don't think they agree with
Lay
any
down.
kind of
But
chastisement either.
this is the thing, and this is
Because-
what I was coming to, because then I was saying that's why you then see, like
Yeah.
with Super Nanny,
There
you then see programs like that where,
Mm.
oh, you know, my mum was really hard on, and this is what you find, because she'll even say to them, what's wrong with you? Why are you letting your child talk to you like this? Or why are you letting your child run the home like they're an adult? It's disgusting. She actually sits them down and
Yeah.
thoroughly tells them, you are a terrible parent for doing these things and you need to fix up.
Yeah, you're not doing them any favors by not giving any discipline.
Exactly, that's what she said. She's like, it's not going to make them love you any less.
But that's not. No
All
one's
them
saying
things.
that. Oh, all the discipline must be physical.
Exactly.
But none at all. It's
It's
not,
not
helping your
acceptable.
child.
No, it's not acceptable. And this is the thing. And but some people, they won't even want to tell their child, like, oh, can you please not do that because that's rude, or don't do this because that's not right, or when you do this, you must do this, or go every time we have dinner, you must do this. No, they're not telling them to do anything.
No structure.
There's no structure, there's no discipline. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing. Go now. Yeah, there's no discipline, stop! I swear. We're gonna end up doing is pulling down everything.
Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down.
Can't be asked. Yeah.
Lay down.
He's just mashing it up now, yeah.
Lay down. Lay down.
Yeah, because he thinks, oh, Dad's not in, so I don't have to listen. Get back over there.
Get over there. Lay down.
Anyway, yeah, so they end up, well, you know, their child is there saying, just like what Dad was saying about that boy, oh, I'm going out. You know, this is what they'll find. Oh, they're going out and they're not interested.
Accustomed to believing that they don't have to answer to anybody.
Exactly, and this is what happens. So then you've got these rude children that even they're about 7 years old and they're running the yard. What they want goes. What they want is whatever it is. Oh, if the dinner's not what they want, they're throwing it on the floor and all these kind of things. And they're just, oh, I don't know what to do. And this is the problem. Obviously, we've got to have we've got to have a balance between the two, because, you know, nobody says, you know, that you should be, your child does small little thing, you're beating them out. That ain't right. Nobody's saying that's right. Yeah, but what we're also not saying is that no beating or discipline at all is right either. No, that's wrong. Yeah, you can't be there expecting your child to be a good person or a nice person or have respect for other people. Yeah, exactly, when you've not built any foundation on it. You've not made them understand that they must respect people. They don't even respect you as the parent. So therefore, when they go out into the world, there's no one for them to, they're not interested in respecting anybody out there, because they didn't even have to respect their own mum and dad. So why would they be caring about anybody else? And it's like a knock-on effect. It just makes it worse and worse.
Stop it.
And what you actually sometimes find is that those ones that the parents were too lenient, they then become strict on their own children. Yeah, like some militant soldiers. Yeah. because I think it was a wife swap one where I watched and the dad had him like it was some military. And what did he say? He was like, well,
in the Navy or something like that.
yeah, and he had them like it was some military, and he didn't always give them beatings, but sometimes he had this wooden spoon. So if they tried it, they would get a whack with the wooden spoon, right? And he said he don't really care what anybody has to say, because when they're rude to that level, yeah, when they're really pushing it, they deserve a little whack, and he's gonna give it. But yeah, they deserve a little whack or something like that. That's what he was saying. So he's gonna give it. But the problem with his one was that it wasn't even his physical discipline that was too much. It was the other disciplines that were too much. So they couldn't even watch TV when they were at home unless they'd done all homework for the whole week and all this. So all week long you're not watching any TV because you're getting new homework every night or whatever. You know what I mean? Then it was, oh, they must do all the dishes of the house, all of the what else? And these children were young, you know. I'm not talking teenagers. I'm talking like 7, 8-year-olds. I think the oldest was like 11, and then the youngest was about 5 or something. But he still had to do stuff. So they'd be there making them clean up, making them there to fold up their clothes, make their bed, and all these things. But it wasn't just like, oh, make your bed, clean your clothes, do this and that. It was like extreme military regimen, basically. You know what I mean? So they have to do this and that, and it has to be at this time. And if it's not, he's screaming at them and all these things.
Sorry, guys. Emergency to deal with.
But
I could hear.
Yeah, they you know, the man was there making it like it was some military school. They couldn't even have a sweet or a crisps or anything like this, because oh no, it's not productive and it's not good for them and all this, right? Gosh. And his reasoning for all of this was that his parents were too lenient on him when he was young, and he don't want, and he thinks that at the beginning of his life it made him, you know, not go down the right path and not make the right choices. So he's not taking that chance with his children.
So then,
what he was saying.
So then that means,
that was like I said, that was
so
what they
he's
call white person.
continued his life out of rebellion towards his parents.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But then what makes him think that his children are not going to grow up and do the same thing? Because he's gone the opposite way, so they'll go the opposite way back on him.
I suppose my question to that maybe would be then that lack of discipline, maybe, if you want to call it that, could that not be classified as abuse as well then?
Yeah, I think it is abuse.
Well, that's what we were saying.
Yeah,
you know, if you don't raise your child
there's got to be some form of discipline.
Isn't that also abuse?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was
Because you're
saying
not
about
raising
that
them and preparing them for the real world.
How she would cuss them off, the parents, and say, "What you're disgusting." She said, "Why are you letting your children speak to you like this? Why are you letting them act these ways? And run your life and run this house like you aren't the parent. And you're pathetic." And that's exactly what she was saying to them. And then they're crying, and you know, because they finally come to some sort of self-realization about how they're damaging.
I mean, I know we can't say that, you know, our children are like animals. However, there are some similarities. So I'm gonna give you a small analogy. Those who might have still remained on while I just went to deal with something there, they've heard and seen the behavior of this dog. And when I'm here, he doesn't do that. No. Because when I am around, he knows maximum discipline is coming of whatever level or version is necessary. And you see, the thing is that some of our neighbors, just to give you an example, have reported me to the RSPCA. Oh, he's being abused. Like they saw us one day, and you know, imagine this is just to give you an example. Yeah. Plastic bucket, you know, just one of those little flimsy plastic bucket. If you ever see the size of this big head dog, right? He was there misbehaving himself in the garden, and I told him, shut up and stop it. And I flung the bucket at him, the plastic bucket. Now he's a dog, so you know how fast they can move. He just dodged the bucket and then he's just there laughing, so to speak. The neighbors have gone to report me because I flung a plastic bucket at the dog. If it had even hit him, it's nothing it was doing.
No.
Right? That's that. But for them white people now,
Yeah,
and
that's abuse.
those funny ones anyway,
Yeah.
that was abuse. The ones who like to be kissing their dog and all this type of thing.
Yeah.
So no. Anyway, that's this is what I'm saying, that's that part. Now the other thing, this guy that we began talking about, he said, oh, he didn't deny what his ex-woman said. She said, and there I don't know exactly what went on, so I don't want to comment on the picture that she put. And why I'm saying I don't want to comment, because I'm not saying that it's a lie, but I don't know what happened, so I don't know how it happened. So I don't know whether exactly that he punched her in the face, punched her in the eye, poked her with a finger. We don't know, so I don't want to comment.
That's what
she could have hit something, so I don't want to comment too far directly on that part. However, though, he did not deny that he has been abusive.
Yeah, in some element. Yeah.
But now what I want to pick up on is what he said, because he blamed it on his childhood.
Yes, he did.
Right? And that's why we started off with the whole thing about parents and how you're dealing with your children and so forth. Because a lot of people, when they become adults, and when we're talking people now, we're talking sex offenders, so we're talking rapists, pedophiles, or pedophile rapists, whichever way you want to put it. We're talking abusive men, who are violent towards their partners and their children and so forth, and all this type of thing. And it isn't only men, by the way. But it's those people. We're talking to some extent, those who become alcoholics, drug addicted, and other form of negative classified behaviors. And they turn around and they say that you don't know what I've been through. You don't understand what my childhood was like, etc., etc., and then use that as an excuse. So now in the case of this guy, this comedian guy, Major Hype, he says, well, he didn't deny at any point whether he slapped up the woman or whatever he'd done. First thing, we know that he admitted, and we know, well, I've not seen the video.
No, I haven't.
I saw some, he had screenshotted conversations from her phone with a guy or other guys or whatever, sort of intimate type of conversation, and he put all that public. Now, I can't think of any other way to put it, so I'm just going to call it how I see it. Any man who's doing those things to me is a chichi man, right? Angelica said he's a bitch, but well, okay, he's a chichi man. You don't do that. If you're a proper man, allow that.
Yeah, exactly. Why?
So he's saying, he's telling you, I am not an abusive person. I have been abused, right? But what he's still missing the point.
Yeah.
We don't deny because we were not there, but he said it, and maybe he's telling the real truth, because this is also part of what I'm questioning for people here. That have you got your eyes open enough on what's going on in your household?
Yeah.
And when I say household, I don't just mean those who live with you every day, but suddenly some uncle or cousin is visiting, because they're the ones who are there doing funny little things. Not always them, but quite often it's them.
Yeah.
These things happen with these visiting people, visiting wider family members, right? Distant relatives who come creeping around, and doing funny things. I can give you an example of somebody who allowed someone to stay in their home overnight. So what the situation was, they as a group of friends, they'd gone out And they had a family member, a female family member, who had also gone out with them. So everybody's all gone out together. And this guy who had come to visit, he took a liking to the female family member. So he's there, chitty chatting to her, I like you, blah blah blah, this and that. And she's like, yeah, okay, cool, So taking it in a stride, they're having a drink, they've gone out for a little dance and so forth, and that's supposed to be,
That's it.
like that. But now, of course, the female family member has been invited to stay because of her family. Yeah. My man was invited to stay also in separate rooms, of course. So everybody's gone to their bed. In the middle of the night, my man is woken up now, right? And gone now looking for the lady. So he's found himself in the room where she is. So this is not even just a case of knocking on the door. He's found himself in the room where she is, right? And now coming there with his little sausage about, can we make some breakfast? And read between the lines, you know what I'm saying, right? So she's like, are you okay? Because where did that come from? Oh, because I like you and I thought you liked me too, and rare. Yeah, but that doesn't give you the right to come to be making breakfast, just like that. yeah, but blah blah blah. So the long and the short of it, anyway, obviously at some point she said to him, you'll go or I will make noise, and then you'll know what will happen after that. So my man has gone back to his room, and she didn't say anything to the family about it until after he had, they told him goodbye and he's gone. And then the story came out. Now, these are the type of things that we're talking about. Because, okay, she did speak and say that, but how many cases are there, and there are many, where the same type of thing will have happened, and either they will have just continued and done whatever they wanted to do, or not done anything more than that, but just nobody speaks.
Yeah.
See, now everybody's carrying something after that. The lady who that's happened to will be carrying that form. Yeah, see, doing it again.
Mine's all right. It'll probably happen again.
The lady will be carrying that form of abuse.
Yeah.
From whatever it is that the man has done.
No, it's happening to mine.
Yeah, it's happened again on here.
They think they're funny. I hope everyone can still hear it. They must be. There's still 6 people viewing it. Still says people are viewing it.
So the lady will be carrying the stigma and the feeling of that abuse.
Yeah.
The man may be carrying now a mindset. Oh yeah, I can do some of these things and get away with it because nobody's talking.
Nobody's said, and if they have noticed, they've not even said anything.
I can give you another example. I'll give you another one, which to me is even probably even no, it's equal. No, in fact, it's worse. This one is worse, I think. It's a situation that happened that I've been told about. A guy, a family in Kenya, and in Kenya it's quite often that they have what they call house helps.
Yeah.
Some houses tend to call them house managers, but generally they call them house helps. And even some rude families call them a maid. So anyway, this lady, what she usually will do, she may be employed on the basis of looking after the family in general. So that is, she's in charge of the cleaning of the house, maybe cooking to an extent, and certainly if they've got children, she's in charge of looking after the children when they've all gone to work. So now there's often a lot of abuse that happens. And the problem is that in too many cases, there's nothing that happens to those afterwards.
Yeah.
Especially in places like Kenya. And this is one of the reasons also why I've said I'll touch on this subject, because what is it that how do you convince those people to speak up for themselves when sometimes they'll go to the police and they'll be abused by the police as well,
Yeah.
whether it's actually literally, physically, verbally, or both.
Yeah.
There have been cases where house helps have been thrown out in the middle of the night, for instance. Now, some of these are young ladies, maybe 18, 19, 20. They've been thrown out. They've been on the street wandering around or whatever. Police have picked them up. And then they're thinking, oh, I've been picked up by the police. They're going to help me. They've now tried to tell their story of what it is that's, has happened to them. And the policeman has driven off with them to some secluded place. And, they're cooking breakfast. You see? So now, when you look at that, what do you say? Oh, that policeman, he was abused when he was young. Really? I don't think so. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have all the statistical evidence, but it's not, because they ended up in that situation now, but because now they don't even know where to turn, and then they've got this whole thing of, well, how do you empower somebody where there's no power? What do you tell them? What do you teach them? How do they get around that? Are you going to tell them carry a small penknife and when they come, juke them in their leg? Because probably I would.
That's what I was about to say.
Right? There's two of my daughters here, and I'm sorry, mate, but if they're in Kenya and they have to know, because juke them in their leg.
Yeah. Do what you must do.
But because now, generally speaking, a large majority of these Kenyan women are very nice and they're soft, and they're not coming with that style of thing. This is what the problem is, you see?
Yeah.
Because then you're looking at that, because that's why I said, okay, what does the abused do after the abuse?
Yeah.
Now we know that has many angles, because you've got those people who are saying, like that guy, I was abused. He said family member, because what he said was that he shared his feelings with his woman, what had happened to him as a youth, what they did, and who it was. It was a male family member to him as a male, so that was very degrading for him, and all of those things. And it even, whether he told her that part or not, but it even turned him, in my opinion anyway, towards that side, which I called the wrong side.
Feminized.
So now, as a result of that, that's why he's saying that's why he's the way he is. He's abusive and all of that. See, I only accept that to a certain extent, because that's why I said I have another point of view behind it, which for a Christian I'll come with in a minute, and maybe many people won't want to hear that one, but I think that's the bigger issue. Because now you've got then these women, like the ones I'm saying, like for instance the story, this family, they've hired women to their house. So now what they did, and only God knows why they had to be so wicked, they've put the lady to sleep in the same room as the two lads of the house.
Why would you do
right?
that?
Because they just, they don't want to give her space, don't they? So she's had to sleep in the same room. Okay, there's beds enough in the room, but that's not the point. So the older son, he's decided, well, this is his woman, right? So he's making himself busy doing whatever he's doing, and the younger brother is not watching, So now when the younger brother has got to, because obviously none of these ladies stayed long, but because obviously there is an element of what would you call poverty within Kenya, it's easy to get people,
Mm.
you know,
Lots of people.
those type of workers at that level, because lots of people are without work and without finance any at all. So what's happened now? He's the younger brother has now watched what the older one is doing. As he gets older, then he starts with the same behavior. Now then I've asked, well, where did this come from? Oh, the dad was the one.
You see,
So now, yes, that one you can say there's a pattern. But what I want to introduce there is that now some would say, oh, it's just, you know, coincidental that that pattern is because, you know, there's that saying that I disagree with, monkey see, monkey do. I disagree with that saying on the basis that we're not monkeys, right? And that's why we're far more intelligent than monkeys. See, because that's why you'll put a peanut in a bottle and a monkey will put his hand inside and his hand is stuck. You put a peanut in a bottle and a human will put their hand inside and their hand is not stuck because they'll just take out their hand and pour out the peanut or smash the bottle.
yeah.
And the monkey will just keep pulling and not letting go of the peanut, so then he can't get his hand out.
Yeah.
You see? And that's simply because we're not the same, despite what the evolutionary people would like you to believe. And why am I saying all that? Because I'm saying that men, as in humanity, has a much greater cognitive ability in terms of choosing their behavior than animals do.
Yeah, more
But
of a
what we do,
choice.
we turn around and say, oh, this animalistic behavior is because, oh, well, okay, you're more Neanderthal type or whatever. Well, that's not me.
Yeah, that's
And
not
I don't
me.
accept that. But what I do believe is that there are things that follow in people's bloodline demonically.
Yeah.
And this is where the issue of the abuse, when they say, oh, well, his dad was like that and his granddad was like that,
Yeah.
and now he's like that.
Yeah.
That is a generational
Generation.
spirit. That's a
Yeah.
generational curse, a familiar spirit
Yeah.
that's following the bloodline.
Mhm.
So it's following, and whatever the males do, all the males are doing it.
Yeah.
What grandfather to father to son, their behavior is the same, their attitude is the same, so forth. It's written into their DNA.
Mhm.
We've talked a bit about this before, about things like voice pattern and so
Yeah.
forth, and you know
Characteristics.
that you'll find
Mannerisms.
type of mannerisms and characteristics are the same in a family.
Yeah.
So also these absolutely negative ones,
Of course.
that
they carry as well.
it doesn't necessarily have to be, oh, he was abused as well. Sometimes no. It's because it's in his blood. It's which makes it probably even worse
Yeah.
if you're actually starting to understand it, because it's deep.
Yeah.
That
Like what I was saying at the beginning.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, that is a lot deeper when it's on the bloodline than it is when it's a
Personal
a
choice.
personal choice or a personal, maybe a situation has happened to you, because there's lots of people in the world that, you know, they've been abused, you know, sexually or physically or etc.
and they will never
And they
do
will
that to
never do
anybody.
that. Yeah, they will never.
They'd
They
run
will
far
just-
from it. Even.
Yeah,
They wouldn't even fight anybody.
Exactly. They don't want any conflict, all these things. They're a peaceful, calm, nice person. Yeah, that's the type of person that you can have. And then you obviously always have the opposite, which they're the people that choose to internalize that thing that's happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
And yeah. Use it as an
I'm
excuse
mad at the world,
for bad
so-
behavior.
Yeah.
I'm angry at the world. You're correct. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to now take this out on everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm going to treat everybody else with disdain,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be nasty and abusive to them. And then when I'm caught out,
Mhm.
I'm gonna say, oh, it's not my fault. It's what I went through.
Yeah, definitely.
It does have some forbearance.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but it's a lame excuse.
Mhm.
You know, the worst case that I ever came across was many years ago when I worked in medium secure units, which is basically is a mental hospital for criminals.
Mm.
You've got high secure and medium secure, and those guys, majority of them, they're in the hospital because they're mentally unwell, but they would have been in prison otherwise.
Yeah.
So it's like a prison for mentally ill people.
Yeah.
So it's not like even normal mental hospital, where sometimes they can come and go through the barriers, and no, these places are properly locked.
Yeah.
Proper secure. So I met a chap in there who was a serial paedophile rapist.
Ugh.
And he's busy chatting. To be honest, first out, I didn't really want to hear what he's saying. And the reason why I didn't want to hear what he's saying is because I'm going to tell the truth. I mean, I like him. I don't like him. Right? But now you might say, you're not allowed to say that when you didn't like him. No, I didn't like the spirit that was coming out of him. That's what I mean by that. If you want a deeper explanation, because it was dirty.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the word, because the Bible uses that term, an unclean spirit.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it was dirty. It's an unclean spirit. Yeah. And this guy's busy. Basically, and he was never coming out. He was not going to see the road again, right? And they're giving him plenty enough medication to clap him down properly, but he's still there rabbiting on. And he told me some horrific information about some things that have been done to him. And I thought, okay, yes, I understand. I hear you. And I'm very sorry, but I'm not accepting your because he was making now. Well, this is the reason why. I said no.
If you know yourself how it feels, then why just because it happened to me and I had to go through that, so now someone else might feel it as well.
And then
that's all it is.
Yeah, and that's what then, social commentators will tell you. Yes, it's the result of the trauma of the abuse.
Yeah,
no, it is called unclean spirit.
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
Hurt people.
No, no. Hurt people can hurt people, so can unhurt.
Exactly.
If there's any such term, but people are people.
Yeah,
and again, it goes back to what I will say. Nasty people hurt people.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Nasty
Because
people.
but some people can try to find a big excuse to it. But it's an unclean spirit.
Yeah.
Now, for those who don't believe in anything, that's okay. But I've said it.
But even so, if you want to get scientific or whatever, it's literally proven that certain criminals and people, that do abusive things or behave in psychopathic tendencies, etc., they have a different brain makeup, and all those things. So what do you think is driving the changes in the brain and etc.?
And which part of the brain is it? It's the part
always
that was affected by the Neanderthal.
Yes, it's always the frontal lobe here. Yeah, and something, and it's always paired with as well. I think it was when I was watching this thing about the cannibals, right, and what drives people to cannibalism, right, and the scientific reason is that they say there's trauma to the prefrontal lobe here, and then also neglect from the mother, right. In each case, this was the same story going across the board, and then this now then turned their child into some cannibal.
And that trauma is in their DNA.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because that's why the mothers do what they do to the children.
Because then people say, it's psychological. Yes, it's psychological, but then give a deeper explanation to what's psychological. It's in the DNA. Yeah. It's written in there. You see?
It is. It's written in the DNA. And a person can choose, because there was one man that had the same situation where his mother was neglectful and abusive, and he had damage to his prefrontal cortex, or whatever it's called. I think it's called cortex.
I think
Yeah, and but he wasn't like that. He wasn't like these other cannibal people and serial killer people. And he chose to be a better person. And even his wife said, yes, sometimes he would have these small tendencies where, you know, he's only caring about what he wants to do. So it could be their daughter's christening, but he's going to buy a car and all these type of things. And she knows it's because of that gene that he has that makes him make these certain types of choices. But still within that, he's never hurt anybody ever. That was the main thing. He had never hit anybody, even at school and all these things. And never hurt anybody. There's just those small choices that, as we said already, it's a bloodline thing, and he can't help that.
But yeah,
he obviously, you know, chooses to break it.
Through something that we're not discussing here, because we're not preaching to you, but it takes something more than what they can give you, and it's not willpower, and it's not medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I suppose if you wanted to use Christian terms or biblical terms, it would be the difference between sin and iniquity.
Yes, yeah.
But that's all I'm going to give you on that, because I don't want to give you so if you want to know, you know, anything deeper, inbox me and I'll tell you when I'm doing my teaching.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm on Facebook Live on Fridays anyway, preaching, and I teach on Wednesday, 6:30, and Sunday at 6:30 on Zoom. So you'll need a code for those two.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk about all these
lots
types
of
of. We're
things.
real.
Yeah, we talk about the world, and
You know, we don't just talk about Moses and the burning bush.
no.
And if we do talk about Moses and the burning bush, we only talk about it from the point of view of relevance to us.
Yes.
Not
the world
relevant
that
to
we live
Moses in that time.
No, the time now, and how it relates to what's going on in the world, and how we can even identify the things that are written in the Bible to what's actually happening
right
with certain spirits and types of people and nations of people, etc. These are things that we've been looking at, and it's very interesting because it starts. Because what happens is you start to lots of things make more sense. You think, oh, okay, so that's why.
Right. That's the reason. You see, that's the
Mhm.
reason why these people are like that.
Yes, that's the reason why this
people are like
person is.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so do you see, for instance, you find some extremely venomous people that they just like hate certain. In fact, they hate anybody who doesn't look like them.
Yeah.
Because hence, for instance, why you find that some, I'll just say call them people groups then, for want of a better term. Some people groups are very adamant on being incestuous.
Yeah.
That they want to stick closely to their family. And the reason is because of all this, what we're talking about, this bloodline thing.
Yeah.
You know, we could probably practically do a thing on bloodline on its own.
I think maybe
you know,
we could do that.
As it so happens, on Friday, I'm going to be
Trying it. You best reconnect.
As it so happens, on Friday, I'm going to be preaching about how the blood speaks.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's going to be from that perspective, but we could probably do a live.
So that could be like a little,
you know,
what's the word? A little introduction to it.
You know, because when we're doing these lives, we're not preaching.
We speak more.
And we don't see, because even we ended up, because people have been cut off.
From the connection. Because obviously, as you already know, they tried to mess up our connection 24/7. Yeah. Very draining.
And I really don't know why.
I know, because I wouldn't mind, but there's people out there, right, that are on here chatting. Their videos even titled things like "Government been infiltrated," and their video ain't getting no connection to stop and all this rubbish. Yeah, why? But,
sad, isn't it?
Yeah, very sad. But you know,
but we're cool with it. Do whatever they're doing.
People are still watching regardless. I mean, I saw the vaccine one on YouTube, and it's got I can't remember how many views, but
People are watching
people are watching it. So as long as people are watching it, that's all I really care about. You can keep cutting off my connection, but
Oh, you
it's
want
not working because we're still coming back.
and you know, and we're not going to be 2 hours every time. Sometimes
No.
we're like an hour and a half,
Yeah,
an hour and 45. Like today, we're not going to be much longer now.
no, because we've kind of covered
Because we said
everything.
what we wanted to say.
We've started even going to now the next.
Because we were already
Topic.
like kind of telling people what we might talk about.
Yeah.
But you know, we often do that anyway.
Yeah, we do because we they have a kind of a. It's
They
been
all
a
kind of
gradual
follow on.
leading on. Yeah, they all kind of fit together. They all kind of lead on a lot of the lives and a lot of the things we talk about. Even sometimes reference back to something we've already spoken about in a deeper, you know, in a deeper sense, etc.
Mm. So, in other words, then to recap, see the whole thing about the abuse, because now we started off talking about, you know, the discipline side, physical chastisement, which many in society have told you, no, that's abuse. Part of the reason I believe why they're telling you that is because they don't want you to be the one to do it.
Yeah,
They want you to lose
themselves.
your children to the government.
Yeah.
Whether literally as in they take them away or they take away the control, and then they will abuse them in the fashion that suits them.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, for me personally, to teach a 5-year-old about oral sex is abusive.
Yeah.
It is abuse.
But yet, according to schools now,
It's normal.
it's normal. It's
If that
allowed.
was an uncle at home teaching them about that,
You know,
what
but
would
it's
they
abusive.
say? It's abuse.
You see?
You're grooming, and that's what they're doing to your children.
and for them, or for you to sit there with 5, 6, and 7-year-old children and tell them, oh, if you wish you don't want to be a girl anymore, you can now be a boy, or if you don't want to be a boy anymore, you can now be a girl. Listen, fine. For those people as adults who want to choose to be, you can choose to be a bread basket if you want to.
Whatever you
Right?
want.
I don't care.
That's a different situation.
But when they're a child, leave them alone to be a child.
Yeah.
Right?
Stop
But now
abusing
you're
them.
telling me that isn't abuse.
It's abuse.
But when you have a son and you have to conk him in the back of his head, right? Because he's rank and don't have no manners. And you want to make sure that he'll turn out to be a proper young man. That's abuse. What's up?
You got it wrong, mate.
You know?
Yeah,
Well,
it's true.
You know? That's the wrong. They've got it wrong.
But we know why they've.
But you see, this is the thing that it's. Hence, when we're looking at the title that we put there about the abuse and the abused, and then what happens. Well, the thing is that it comes from more than one angle, because all they ever want to show is, oh, you know, don't smack your children, don't shout at them, and
let them have their.
You know, all of this.
You know.
But then you as a person of color, for instance, and all the lives that we do, when we do these lives, they are not only directed at people of color. However, look here, right? So I have to speak from my experience, and I can't pretend that this doesn't exist, either in me or in them. You see? And unfortunately, my sons are not here, but they also look like them and like me. Do you understand?
The world won't let
you know. So the world doesn't allow us to forget it. So we also have to talk about it from that point of view. And when you're busy saying, no, well, you know, you have to understand that no, what we need to do is make sure that we prepare our young people for the world in which they are really going to have to live.
Exactly.
Not the fake pretend one, the fairy story one, but the real one.
Yeah. Because when you're
The real one.
at the shop and some person is barging past them or pushing them down just because, you know, maybe they don't like the way they look,
or they're being followed around the shop.
by the security man
And none of
all
their
these
friends
things.
are being followed.
Yes.
Those things are still current, 2020.
Yes, they are.
Black light, listen, you could have weird t-shirt, jacket, jumper, hat, scarf, gloves, everything. Black Lives Matter. It's still happening.
Yeah.
Right? And that is abuse as well. And that's what you got to understand. And we've struggled with that.
For our
Right?
whole life.
So when we speak out from that, and people are like, "Why? Why you speak?" Because it's abuse.
Yeah.
What do you
Then
think?
now, so the police and CJS doesn't do it later.
Yes,
See,
yes,
Trevor
that's what
knows.
we're
That's
saying.
exactly
Yeah.
what we've been saying.
Because
Because they're trying to put their authority on everybody else. Oh, you must not do this.
Really?
So the
What is
news
that?
is distracting.
Who said that?
Trevor.
Oh, well, he
What
would.
Freddie said.
Jesus is
Not messing around on this one. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. Matthew 18.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah, you see?
absolutely. But you see, you know, this kind of like, I suppose this is like my final point.
Yeah.
But it's really, it's kind of where I've been leading to, that this whole thing about abuse and abused, they try to look at it only from one angle, and they don't see, well, I can remember, because almost all of my schooling has been, here in the UK entirely. And I can remember from infant school. Yes, they are innocent, so leave the children, but they don't. This is the problem, because this is where the struggle starts, Freddie. Because then when they twist your behavior,
Yes.
they later on blame it on you, or they then turn and blame it on your family, your parenting. Listen, I grew up with my mum and dad living in the same yard, right? And I grew up in the same yard with my mum and dad. There was never, mum and dad were cool. They were together. There wasn't anything going on there as such, right? Just the normal family structure and all the rest. Aunties, uncles. I had a good extended family, right? But it didn't stop me going through the rubbish that I went through in school, right? Which they would not turn around and accept that was abuse.
Because it was.
Right? They won't accept that was abuse. So then what do they expect me then to be saying to my children? And we're not talking about whether I beat them or not. That's not even what we're talking about. Because in my day in school, the teachers were beating you in school. I know they don't now, but in my day they were. They were. And I got enough of it.
Yeah.
To the point where I just toughen up myself, or I would wear certain things underneath my, pad up myself, you know what I mean? So that when they come to bring their licks, I'm not feeling it. And when they're finished with their nonsense, now after they've already beat me, already isolated me from the class, then still go and face the clock in the what do you call the place where you have the assembly?
In the hall.
In the hall. And then I'll be sitting there, everybody else is doing their lessons and whatever. You sit there. And they don't see that all of that they did, that's abuse.
Yeah.
Right? And then they expect you.
Singling a person up, because even my friend was telling me, because obviously he was born in Zimbabwe or whatever. So obviously, they were still at my age, they were still beating them. You know what I mean? It wasn't like how it was here in England where they had stopped beating them by that time. So he said that certain things would be happening, and the teachers are taking stick from outside and they're lashing them out and all this, to the point where he said that his parent, his mum or whatever, and his dad actually came and said, stop beating like this, because it's wrong and it's abuse what you're doing, because they'd even be mashing up their backs.
And that's the black teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no end of stories. That's right. It doesn't just mean physical correction. I'm trying to read it. I haven't got my glasses.
We can train to the point where we can get to the look. Body language is more powerful than smack.
Oh yeah, for real, Trevor.
Yeah,
Of course
the
it
look.
is. My children, they know it. They say my eyes are very expressive.
I
know?
remember I used to say after I had Alexis, it's only when you have a child that you
That you
learn
get
how
the
to
look.
do it.
You learn how to do
it's
the
true
look.
that because even my cousin, she got the same age as me, and if you ever see how she look at her daughter sometimes, she just
Yeah,
I don't know.
then she's the daughter's there.
And again, that is partly cultural because not every culture can do it.
yeah.
But you know, we can speak with our eyes, we can speak with other expressions, even before the licks.
Yeah.
But you see now, like the teachers, maybe not so much in the UK, but the teachers in the UK, their abuse was psychological.
Yeah, definitely.
In maybe Africa and the Caribbean, a lot of the teachers physical abuse. They'll be beating up the children. And in many of the places they're also sexual abusing,
Yeah.
especially the man teachers
man
and the girls.
teachers,
And
yeah.
let's not sweep that under the carpet
No.
because this is all part and parcel of what we're talking about why people, you know, purport then to exhibit certain behavior later in life
Yeah.
because of these things that got swept. Because now also the other issue is that I don't want to hear nothing. You go to school to learn. Go to school, go learn.
Yeah.
And you're busy complaining about how you're being treated in school, what the teachers are doing, how they're abusing you, whether physically, verbally, sexually, or all three.
Yeah.
And it's like some of the parents are just like, I don't care. I'm not interested. Don't talk to me about that. I don't want to hear. Go and read your book. And so then where do those young people turn? Who do they go to? You see? And then when they come out of that, they come out carrying all of that.
Yeah. On the inside.
Right? Carrying all of that.
All of that.
And they're gonna do what with it now?
Yeah.
What are they gonna do with it now?
They're gonna pour it out onto everybody else in society. People who don't deserve it. Yeah. Even just small little things. That's why when you sometimes, like I was saying before, when you sometimes go to the supermarket and some person is there walking and they're there, and you're like, excuse me, and shut up, and all these kind of things. What's going on with that? That's
exactly, because
me.
it's nothing to do with that, but it's because they've looked, something has happened between them and some person of color way back whenever, or they've been told that people of color are aggressive, and maybe they're a soft person really, so they become aggressive first. You know?
Yeah,
So
let me do that before they do it to me.
And this is the thing.
Yeah.
And you know, the whole thing,
They really got back the response that they felt like they was looking for.
they wouldn't be able to handle it. Of course, they wouldn't be able to handle it. But that's why they're toughening up themselves first, you know, so that they can show you I'm rough.
And all that, not
so, you know, back off. You know, and the thing is that we all at times fall prey to that and we go on the wrong side of it because we're human.
We're human, yeah.
But generally speaking, most of us who understand it, we just stay away from that because we know that's not the excuse. You did that, so I'm going to do this. No, because when is it going to stop? It's tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat.
Because you're always going to be baited.
Because if we're gonna look for the abuse to stop like that, it isn't going to.
No.
That's my personal, you know.
You can act exactly the way society wants you to. You can do everything society wants you to. You can even dress, have your hair exactly how society wants you to. But at the end of the day, there's still going to be people
still sticking this.
Is it? Oh, yes, I can see it's doing it on mine. There's still going to be people within society who will look at you, and no matter how you're acting or what job you've got or what level you're at, they don't care. They're not interested. They still feel the same way they do about you. Hence why even though Barack Obama is a little crusty person and he's not a good person, still when he became president, people are chatting about, oh, there's a monkey in the White House and all that kind of things.
Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see again, because those people who have that ingrained into their spirit, they'll never change.
They won't.
And the thing is that no matter how reasonable we are, we've got to face the reality, the truth. And maybe this is the last example I'll give you, and then we're done. But I can remember there was a guy, he's died now, rest his soul, this guy called Clary. He was in the same school as me, but he was in that school a few years ahead of me in age. And it's funny because we did exactly the same thing at exactly the same time. And that tells you something about the ambience of the school. Clary waited until the last day of school, when now he's never going back to the school again. It's the final day that he will be in the school. So he is now, as they may classify, he has now graduated.
Yeah.
So this day is the day when you're leaving and you won't come back to that school anymore. So on that day now, there was a particular teacher who had been particularly abusive towards young people in the school of color throughout. And he had tormented my man for time. He had tormented Clary for ages. So Clary said, okay, cool. I'm now waiting. This is now the last day of school. So he went and he mashed up that teacher. Right? Put his head in the fence. You see? Now, interestingly enough, some few years later, when I'm on my last day of school, the same way, I've now graduated, right? Because, you know, some of you who don't know me properly, you might think John is cool. I'm cool, yes, but by them days, I was. And anyway, I can still be like that. Just test me the wrong way and I have a different head. This teacher, and I remember his name till today, we used to call him Muttley. But his name is Mr. Lamotti, right? But we called him Muttley. If you ever watched Dick Dastardly and Muttley, you know, Muttley was a little git. But anyway, we called him, he was horrible. He was a bully, complete and absolute bully. And he was like quite, you know, stocky, chunky guy, and he used to play rugby and all that. Thought he was a bad man, you know, always bullying the boys. And obviously, ones of color was even worse for him. He used to love to bully them. So I waited till the last day of school. I'm riding my bike going out, and here he comes. Dragged me off the bike, rah, 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 blah, 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 and started running off his mouth. I told him I don't go to this school anymore. And he starts saying he doesn't care. I said, you don't care? I said, well, I have to show you what you should care about. Right? I said, because you can't put your hands on me like that. So I put my hands on him too. Right? And clapped him up and put his head in the fence. And rode off on my bike. But I'd been storing that for like 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
That's what you have to understand. I've been storing it for 5 years. And why? Because of the way that they treat us and had treated us. And it's continuous. And then they turn out, well, you know.
He's sleeping.
You know, they'll turn around and say, oh, we think that, you know, black people, you know, they're a little bit too aggressive, and these people of color, they're a bit aggressive. But this is what I'm trying to say, that now we're just showing people, if they want to see it from a wider picture, why is it that that comes out?
Yeah.
You know, in the case of that teacher, some of us have struggled with abuse from that man for like 5, 6, you know, 5 years. Huh? Yeah, I think that. Yeah.
This is what
Because this is it.
When you're telling your mum or your dad, oh, teachers do, they shouldn't be just saying, oh, well, get on with it.
But that's exactly.
No, it's back on. I think he does want to. Yeah.
Yeah, we're having connection problems, guys. So, but we're coming close to the finish anyway, because you know we're going to end it. But yeah, you know, the last thing that I want to say, and Trevor's really has said it, that children need to be listened to, because this is what I'm saying. That I mean, I couldn't even cover this subject fully, but you know, there's so many different forms of this abusive situations that you know, occur and exist.
Yeah.
And you know, too many Caribbean and African parents are just ignorant.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's the truth. They're just like oblivious.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if they just have their own style and form of discipline of beating up their children, and that doesn't solve everything.
Mm.
And sometimes there's stuff that they're going through, and the parents are like, read your book,
Mm.
you know, go to your room,
Yeah.
wash the
Wash
dishes.
the dish. Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
That's not the answer to everything, man.
No, it's not.
You know, some guys are struggling with stuff that's going on the ends.
Mm.
Who are they going to talk to?
If they can't even speak to you as the parent. It's not even off.
It's up because it's stopped.
He's gone loud.
What's wrong with him? Why is he studying that the music? Trevor, you're too funny, man.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. But you know, in conclusion, anyway, because we're coming up to 2 hours here, so oi.
I know. This one's been long. Because of the little distractions.
Yeah.
What? Excuse me a minute. Has he been outside? What, you're really, and this is the result. And why have you let him in? Put him back outside. Put him back outside. Move out of my way. Let's move.
Because he ain't even going out. I bet you. Put him up the lawn now. That dog, man. Put him on. He's getting them all.
Folks, we have to go.
Yeah.
So, good night. God bless. Can't chat more than you know, Trevor. What you say?
You just come on a minute ago.
Can't chat more than you, brother. Don't think because I'm not saying anything that I don't watch you. Who can chat?
Like there's 3 of us.
You one are on there on your own and you like a long meter by yourself.
Yeah, Trevor can talk too, mate.
That's what I'm saying.
You already know how it goes.
Yeah.
We've had a few distractions anyway.
Yeah, today we had a few breaks here and there. So love you all, guys.
Tune in next week.
Tune in next week. Because he knows what he can't even reply to that one, can he?
Bye. See you later.
Bye.
Isn't it funny?